Please, please, please. Give it up, you lazy bastards, for Marc Jampole!
Well, that's about the best introduction I've ever had. It was certainly the longest. First, we should give another round of applause to Joanne. She was great.
Buoy down, you need more?
I want to thank the Literary Cafe and Steve for having me here tonight. It's just great to be in Cleveland. It's great to be here. It's a very lively bunch, and I just really feel great about it. So I'll just keep saying great a couple of more times. So why don't I start with a poem? I'm mostly going to read poems from my book, Music from Words, which has just been out a couple of months. But I want to start with
only
something
$12.
new. Yeah, and it is only $12.
A bargain.
I did want to start with something new, though, just to warm us up, and it's called Disconnected. No text message, no voicemail, no hits on my blog. My email box is empty. Not even a pitch for Cialis in my spam filter file. No one has responded to my Yahoo personal ad. Someone has dismantled the meta tags on my website, and no search engine can find it. I forgot the password to log on to chat rooms. My cell phone hasn't rung in days. The helpline at my ISP doesn't answer. It's been weeks since I've seen another person at Starbucks or the laundromat. My mail is still going to a former address. I can't read or watch TV because I broke my only pair of glasses. I sit on the floor surrounded by that exhilarating fear that freedom brings. Okay, well now let's go to the book. And the book is actually, it's called Music from Words, and it's in 5 parts, and each part explores a different kind of musicality in poetry. And the first poem I'm going to read mentions a guy named Joe Venuti. Oh, thank you. Mentions a guy named Joe Venuti, and he's a well-known jazz violinist who played from the 20s to the 70s, had a long career. And the poem's called July 4th. July 4th. And the 3-year-old at the picnic said she wanted to play the violin. And I said, just like Joe Venuti. And she said, you're a Joe Venuti. And I said, you're a Joe Venuti. And she pulled a tuft of grass and said, here's some Joe Venuti. And she pointed to a sparrow scratching in the dust and said, there's a Joe Venuti. And from a plastic bag, she dumped a bunch of Joe Venutis. And barbecue flames caressed the grilling Joe Venutis. And men threw the Joe Venuti, popping their gloves. And the sun, and women slurped the Joe Venuti and spit the seeds. And the sun played hide and seek in dissipating Joe Venutis. And through poplar branches, Joe Venuti's shadows danced across the baby's sleeping smile. Later, like Marcus Aurelius, observing models of human behavior, we watched the ducks glide away after the bread was gone.
You're Joe Venuti.
Marcus Aurelius in a poem. I love it.
And Joe Venuti.
And Joe Venuti. So it's the only poem I've ever heard that had Marcus Aurelius and Joe Venuti.
And Joe Venuti, right. But in different stanzas. Okay. My next poem is called Yes and No, and that's K-N-O-W. Yes and No. Yes me, don't yes me. Know me, don't know me. Know the moving blue. Know the scent of flesh. Play me, don't play me. Play with me, don't play. Play triste, but briskly paced. Play allegro vivace. Play in media res. Touch me, don't touch me. Touch me in that place. Don't place me in that touch. Don't punch me with your hunches. Punch me gently with your shadow. Shadow my ways. Don't shadow my ways. Wayfind my yesterdays. Don't ask. Ask me anything. Ask me why. Don't ask me why your shadows glow. Fabricate my flesh. Don't. Fabricate my mind. Don't fabricate today. Fabricate the sun, moon, sway. Don't sway. Don't look away. Look inside. Don't look inside. Look away. Don't look. Don't let me stop you, stop me. Don't stop me, don't stop. Don't stop thinking. Think about stopping. Think about not stopping. You can stop whenever you like. Don't stop till I say to stop. Thanks. So my next poem is called Staff Meeting Minutes. And I imagine many of you have been in staff meetings, so this is Staff Meeting Minutes. Conference room. Blah, blah, blanket walls dissolve and flow, a plunge in frigid water, blah, blah, beat of branches warms your tingling frozen flesh, incorporated world between two walls of ice, ha, ha, horses' heads on shivering human bodies, da, da, disco rats merengue up the glacial switchback, seeking middens of your la, la, life to come. Discarded menus, transparent inhibitions, a new caprice in permafrost. Moats become beams, rice becomes worms, wine becomes blood, ka, ka. Close your eyes, the paper angel wrestling you is only you the times you win. Another Esker fantasy, a higher I don't wanna, wah, wah, wanna be, until you reach that place that makes you smile. Walls become windows, glossy panes in Ba Ba Bay. The other side is summer, bathing ladies on parade, like naked women always, beautiful and full of love. Thanks. Love that applause. Next poem is called What About the Losers? What about the losers? Second place or worse, far from cheers and exultations, head in hands or pacing claustrophobia. At least we played the game. So close and yet so far. If it wasn't for that hit, that swing, bad hop, bad turn, bad call, ball rolling off the fingertips, fleeting lapse in concentration, practiced my butt off, studied for years, made the right moves, met the right people, flattered, bantered, kissed their asses, did without, planned ahead. If it wasn't for contracting markets, change in habits, insufficient cash flow, someone with more contacts, friend of brother, second cousin, old school tie, secret handshake, lies and accusations, loser, 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 failure, lemon, flopperoo. I don't want a stupid ribbon, don't want the sloppy seconds, second best, second hand, greasy gruel at B-list parties, legless wine, polyester fabric, cloying banquet consolations, finalist who never had a chance, blew the chance I had, never strong enough, never smart enough, didn't work enough, wasn't hungry, too small, too slow, too bored, too lazy, too distracted, too fucked up. I deserve to lose. In the corner of an empty room, a lonely man constructs his fantasy, a tree of life unfolding overhead, molting blue and silver leaves, each a coupon for woman's love, exotic travel, expensive cars, enormous houses. He reaps his slips of paper, presses them against his aging body like a multicolored blanket, then stands up naked, throws them to a rising wind, and watches as they drift and climb toward ancient burnt-out stars, scales his leafless tree, jumps into the olive ocean, swims to distant treeless coast, on which crowds of people cheer for the joy of making noise. Thanks. Yep, and we thought it was because it was a good performance. Okay, the athlete or whoever. Okay, now I'm going to read a poem called Moses in the Suburbs. Moses in the Suburbs. This has several voices. I'll try to do all of them. Oops, I got to get to the right page. Moses in the Suburbs, loosely based on Exodus. And he looked across the wilderness and saw cars grazing in rows on asphalt patches, and others lolling in carports, Volvos and SUVs. And he felt himself a stranger. And along his own swatch of grass, children shot imaginary rays at giggling robots. And inside, his wife was using the sushi maker or the trash compactor. He wasn't sure which, but he heard the whir, and it smote him like a slave master's club against a stranger. And the boy was in the carport waxing his surfboard, and the girl was running water and curling her hair with an electric comb. And he smirked. He owned two because his children wanted newer ones with super watts and granted older ones to strangers. And on his desk piled contracts for other ranch oases. He bought and sold them like flocks of sheep. And in this wilderness he saw a burning bush, and he cried out, "Here I am." And he took off his Nikes, walked past ray-shooting children. "Dad, Dad, duck the evil empire." And he cried again, "Here I am," and floated toward the burning bush. And his wife was at the door, cell phone in hand, calling them for lunch, microwave-heated canned soup. And she saw him walk barefoot through desert's burning coals. And she asked him when he was buying a new printer. And he said, "Here I am," and stopped at the burning bush and bowed his head. "Dear, what are you doing at the fire hydrant? Come, have some lunch." "Here I am." And the bush answered, "The people suffer and they don't even know it." "Dear, come have some lunch. You're giving me a headache standing there and we're out of Tylenol." "They are happy in their suffering." "You must take away their happiness so they understand." "But they won't listen." "I will make them listen." "Listen to me, dear. Is something wrong?" And she walked to the fire hydrant, hand fanning. "Gee, it's hot. I'm glad of central air." And he slapped her face in front of the burning bush. And it was the face of a stranger. And he went to the carport and took the gas can and scattered gas along the siding. One match, and it was burning more brightly than even the burning bush. And he turned to his pyre and bowed his head and said, "Here I am." So the next poem is about two victims of what Betty Friedan called the feminine mystique of post-World War II America. One is the poet Sylvia Plath, and the other is a fictional housewife named Dot. And the poem is called Dot and Sylvia. Dot and Sylvia. Both plunged beads of boiling fudge through frigid water at the perfect point, without thermometer. Beat egg and air with effortless wrist spins. Created endless games with plastic dinosaurs and pieces of paper on rainy afternoons. Peeled fruit for all children and adults she loved. Fell to knees in mock anger and pointed index finger to emphasize a discrepancy in height. Played Stravinsky and Carmen with Leontine Price. Taught children funny words to the Toreador song. Listened tenderly as others told their lies. Loved to talk about books she read, to feel big, wet drops fall on her hair and face in an open field, to close eyes and imagine making love to the warm, flat stone on which she was sunning. Wanted a strong and brilliant male to obliterate her, then hated him for doing so. Spoke often of what others thought of her, of what they thought she thought they thought. Stewed about public snubs that no one else could see. Said nasty things when she couldn't hold her liquor. Would suddenly turn on others and seek forgiveness. Requested permission to loathe her mother. Mouthed troubling phrases. Stasis and darkness. The brown arc. The dew that flies. She never loved me. He touched me in that spot. Fluctuated between loving every stranger and abhorring her own flesh. Savored jolt after jolt of current piercing her body like a lover gone wild. stayed in bed by day, paced halls by night, found it easier to remember moments of gloom than moments of radiance, examined several forms of suicide until selecting one, and here they differed. Sylvia stuck her head in an oven. Dot swallowed pills.
Wow.
Can you stand another sad one? Because I want to read a poem about torture. And because every day I wake up ashamed to be an American because we have all these torture camps around the world now. And this poem takes place as a dream within a dream within a dream. Keep waking up from one dream into another dream. And that's what happens to the voice of this poem. But even though it's a dream within a dream, I assure you that every bad thing that happens in this poem happened to someone in one of the U.S. torture facilities around the globe. And the poem is called Ghost, which is what they call a prisoner of a torture facility whose records gets lost, just by chance. Ghost. Dreaming. Soldiers lugged me from the plane. Despite my claims, American citizen. Blinded, neck between my knees, ankles cuffed to wrists, motors whining, grumbling, cars and planes and cars again. Where am I? What did I do? Why can't I call my wife? I wake to driving my taxi. Rocks explode the windshield. I'm probing for damage when soldiers engulf me. Sick leash dogs at my buttocks nipping. Sell me, strip me, chain me to a bed. Booming trumpets ram my eardrums. Scorching floodlights detonate dissolving eyelids, aching pupils. I wake, move to another cell. Wake again and moved again. Wake again and moved again. Wake and moved, wake and moved. I wake to sear of burning cigarette milled in ear, pushed to ground, log rolled over steaming excrement. Try to focus, pleasant memories, wife and children, figs and coffee. I wake hooded, naked, above another naked man whose penis touches my rectum, below another naked man whose rectum touches my penis, whose body's warmness teases me to shameful, reluctant erection. Pulled from the pile, hood punched off, I see a dozen hooded naked men heaped a squalid pyramid of flesh, and a large gun pointed by a soldier yelling, "Jerk off, Haji!" While a woman in soldier's garb tapes my performance, other soldiers laughing. I wake submerged, head held firmly underwater by muscular ropes to boards, ever louder squall of heart, gasping, heavy, frenzied gurgles, ever hotter, burning crush of chest, maiming claws at guts and lungs, tingles creeping, penetrating every limb, growing weary, fading, watery, confused. I wake to tranquil breathing, my wife, gentle whir, the dryer downstairs, muffled roar, an SUV rumbles past our window. The heavy pounding in my chest gradually calms to regular beat as I tell myself it was only a dream. Thanks. Well, I hadn't planned to read that John Coltrane poem. Is it okay if I don't, or do I need to read it now?
It's just like, what the hell.
Good. Okay, great.
But we'll see. I have some of my favorites.
Okay, well, I could go to some of your favorites then.
Yeah, it's just me.
All right. Okay. Well, the poem I plan to read is called "Ravings of an Atheistic Stylite." Now, a stylite is one of those people in Roman era, mainly in Syria. Oh, great, good, that works out. And they were aesthetic, religious hermits who would just go on the top of these large pillars and sit there for years. And they were called stylites. And this was in Syria in the 4th century AD. And this is a poem about an atheistic stylite called Ravings of an Atheistic Stylite. Drift, all is drift. Nomads in sandstorm at edges of empire, dust bowl of animated fragments that banish, varnish the past. The creeping Barkin's Brownian tango replicates, inculcates, suffocates with passionless freedom's wandering eye when meditator is meditation. Drift, all is lift Bernoulli, tooling through the drooling clouds, cross-legged squat on distant pillar, in the clenches, on the beaches, up on the roof, under the boardwalker, save the last drift for sliding under ice Beringian lineage seeking mastodon on ether nether world and drift dream. You didn't have to be so drift. I would have drifted anyway. Drift, all is flux, all is spate, is pile, is clump, is spending and accumulation, collect, let go, fret and set, a grifter's gift and downshift, sift of spendthrift, swift kick, myth that drift, all is drift. Drift snows, cloud and sky, leaf and rake, ice on water, caribou and woodland, ballooning spider casting trembling gossamer, tectonic plates on upper mantle, dye and tea drops, throw of dye, disorderly ideas, planetary traveler, Milky Way's expanding chaos, times to come before they happen, lust for beauty, memory and dementia, a mind immersed in saxophone or booze, eyeless will in drift, all is drift. How much more time do I have?
When we start after Nick's long rambunctiousness? Probably about, I guess one more, I guess.
One more?
I mean, we're at 11:30 already. So
Okay, good. All right. Okay.
yeah,
So
we started late.
I can read a long one, or you want me to read a short one?
Or I could suggest.
Okay. Go ahead, suggest.
I like Thomas Alfred. He thinks of those princesses.
What's that? Oh, Thomas Alfred?
Yeah, I like that one. You did my other favorite songs.
Okay.
But it's up to you.
Oh, I was going to actually do variations on a ballad.
Okay.
The reason I liked, this is an interesting poem. It's, well, I could do Thomas Alfred. You want me to?
It's up to you. It's your
You
show.
guys want to have a funny poem or a poem that's funny and poignant and everything else?
Give us everything.
Okay, that's variations on a ballad because it comes from 20 years of saving obituaries of obscure people, like the guy who designed the lights of Broadway's giant signs, or one of roller derby's greatest stars. And so my question is, will we remember these people that did great things, but will we remember them in 20 years or 20 centuries? And the poem is called Variations on a Ballad because there's a ballad that Francois Villon wrote about 500 years ago in which he asked the same questions about the illustrious queens and princesses. And his question was, where are the snows of yesteryear?
Mais où sont les neiges d'antier?
That's right. Où sont les neiges d'antan? Exactly. Very good. Okay. Anyhow, so this is variations on the ballad.
We're so continental here.
Yeah. Okay. Starts in obituaries, but may go elsewhere. Will we remember that Douglas Leigh arranged Broadway lights into scalding cups of coffee, fishes blowing bubbles, giant dancing couples? Nathan Handworker ladled kraut and relish over dogs and steaming buns to lovers and families outside bumper cars on Coney Island. Jacob Kaplan gave away his millions made by selling juice to house abused and homeless. A.N. Spinell invented pneumatic stretchers, plastic girdles, won a libel suit versus Westbrook Pegler. Will we remember Mario Savio raising his voice, Albert Maltz refusing to answer, Salvatore Altchek, nonagenarian, creaking upstairs, his $5 house calls, Alfred Hershey fiercely shaking viral soup in kitchen blenders, counting parts of DNA, Monty Miller, who told his cult that Satan's spawn revealed to him the date of Earth's destruction, that boy whose parents pretended he had genius, did his homework so he could graduate at 10. That guy who served 6 years in jail for rape before his accuser admitted she lied to keep her dad from beating her. The twin girls creating a private language that no one else could understand. The roller derby queen called the blonde bomber. The parents who babysat virtual pets. Will we remember Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, the chapter on prison routine? Grace Paley's essay on the 30s? Sankai Juko sandstorm plunging floorwards? Laura Nairo singing Stone Soul Picnic? Molly Pecan shining shoes in Yiddle with a fiddle? John Fahey dithering his guitar? Morris Karnofsky as leader? Will we remember Al DeRogatis predicting a screen from Star to Taylor? Mo Lucas jumping for the ball, elbows over heads of all the other players? Whoopi creamed in, white wings to bow, the goose, the whammy, Heine Miney, the photo in the New York Times of Bera, Bauer, Whitey, and Nick Moose and Whitey arriving together for Mickey's internment. Will we remember Mean Joe Green tossing his jersey and fondling a Coke? The fast-talking man rapidly explaining it rapidly. Gotta do that one again. The fast-talking man rapidly explaining if it absolutely positively has to get there. The old woman looking up suspiciously, a finger deep in burger bun and asking, "Where's the beef?" California Raisin shuffling to soul, Bartles and James sitting on a porch and drinking sweetened wine. A hilltop choir wanting to teach the world to sing. Mikey, Speedy, Joe Azuzu, Spicy Meatball. Will we remember John Daly teasing Dorothy Kilgallen? Bob Barker barking, "Come on down!" Alex Trebek reading answers, asking for questions. Vanna flipping letters. Paul Lynde twisting entendres across his lips like unlit cigarettes.
Did you just reference Paul Lynde?
Paul Lynde.
I did.
Back in the morning.
We're getting deep
Yes,
here. Will we remember Disney's Gated City, Beatles tribute bands, religious-based mutual funds, energy and fitness drinks, outlet malls, Y2K? Will we remember the meaning of Make It Real, Park That Thought, psychic power tools, taking a quick scuba in the think tank, I Have the Ball, Warm and Fuzzy, Kidvid, Sudzer, Tud Thump, Mop It, Macho, Hyper, Blurb, at this point in time, unplugged cyber ethnic cleansing, been there, done that, colorized wellness? Will we remember the first shallow snow of callous winter, the first purple crocus yearning skyward, the first firefly landing on a rhododendron, illuminating a broad leaf briefly, then silently announcing its version of darkness? Thanks.
What was the last one? What was the last word?
Darkness. The last line was silently announcing its version of darkness.
It's version of darkness.
Yeah, that was a beautiful line.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, thanks a lot. Please, so please feel free to step right up and buy a book. And thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
That's okay.
Thank you, everybody. This was wonderful.
Don, we got open mic.
You were
Best part's coming
I
now.
appreciate it. It was great.
Mark, thank you very much, and there's nothing I can really say after that, so I'm just going to go right into the open mic reading.